Yeah. Let's open this up with a yawn, right? Yeah, that's how we do it around here.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, hey everyone, we're the Podcast Wreckers. We're having a special show with just myself, Adam Aragon, and my co-host, cohorts, and co-ed, Stephen Thomas.
That's true. I never did go to an all-boys school. It was always co-ed.
Yeah. Lucky for you, because from my understanding of 80s movies, that's how you grow up.
I had a brother that went to an all-boys high school, and then he got kicked out for drinking.
I was gonna say, how did that turn out? But you just answered that along with the statement, so thank you.
Yeah, ever since I was like 12, I say that like in one complete sentence. I just condemn my brother's education like to anyone who will be willing to listen.
Yeah, let me tell you about this guy. One time he did this, and he failed so bad, I don't need to tell you anything else.
I know. I only realize now at the ripe old age of 46 how harmful I've been to my dear, dear older brother. Sorry, bro.
I have an older brother who I'm sure will never listen to this, but you know, and
Yeah,
he's
there's
actually
that.
he's my half brother, so he's about I don't know 10 years older than me,
Oh, wow.
maybe a little, around there. And so we didn't grow up together. He grew up with his mom after my dad and her separated, and I have a half sister as well, and so they were both raised by their mother, who is Mormon. So they were raised Mormon, and so for years, like they just they like wouldn't allow either of us to mingle. We couldn't be in the same place. We couldn't hang out. But my dad had some sort of visitation rights, so occasionally they would come over, and it would just be for a couple days. Yeah. So that was the way it was for years and years. And then about 15, 16 years old, my brother was like leaving the house, and he's like, I can't stand it here anymore. I'm not a Mormon. I play the bass. I smoke weed. Like,
hell yeah.
Yeah, he just totally went, the other direction.
Yeah.
And so we took him. We took him in. So he moved in with us at like 15, 16. So I lived with him for like 15 to 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I like worshiped the guy. I looked up to him, like, yeah, he like was sitting. But I remember he'd go in there, and him and his buddy would be like cutting up like tons of weed on the table and giant bong, playing the bass, and I was just like, this is as cool as it gets. I always skateboarded too, yeah. So it's just like it was like walking into like a Christian Slater movie. Like that just was like, oh, you're everything I want to be.
Naked girl offers you a foaming beer. You go at him.
He got me into Metallica and Ice-T.
Nice.
Metal and hard rap.
Yeah, why not? Good combinations.
Yeah,
he was angry.
Well, he's raised by a Mormon in a broken family. Who knows?
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's fucking rad.
Anyway, shout out to my brother. But
my older brothers, I kind of idolized in a similar fashion. Although they were never able to grow weed in the house,
but they would have.
As soon as they moved out, like they were pretty much outlaws, and I was completely enamored with their lifestyle.
Did you emulate it, or just from a distance you like someday?
There was a bit of an age gap. There's 5 kids, and the 3 eldest all kind of grew up a little bit more together than me and my younger sister, and so when they were getting into their shit, we were still little kids, and so by the time I was getting in my teenage years, they were in their 20s and stuff, and just kind of not there most of the time.
And by that time you're kind of off doing your thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a disconnection there. But when I was younger, I was just like, that's what I want to be like. And then, of course, when I went to high school, I was like, that person is like, yes, let's go smoke weed.
Yeah, I just remember when the epitome of cool was like smoking cigarettes or smoking weed or drinking alcohol. If you could achieve one of that triad, you were like, you'd hit the top of the mountain.
Yeah. And yet I persevered in trying to go in weird angle. Like me and my friends would smoke beaties. Did you ever smoke
Oh, I
fucking?
remember beaties. Yeah, was that like
Yeah,
grape leaf with like herbs in it instead of tobacco or something?
yeah. It was just a tightly little wrapped up tobacco leaf. I think it was just like you were just smoking a tobacco leaf, and it would just fucking give you massive head rushes and then a headache. And and I was always wondering why I wasn't getting laid. Sitting there with this fucking like little, like smoking like a splinter. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember beaties. Like I think they could sell them, right? Because like they weren't tobacco or
No, they were tobacco. You had to get them at like a head shop.
yeah. It was always some weird little place that had them. Like,
Yep.
and I do remember like getting them. And I think at the time someone told me like, oh, you can smoke them because they don't have tobacco. I guess they were wrong and they were lying, and now I'm just learning this at my age. But today is the day I learned that beaties apparently have tobacco in them.
You might be right. Maybe I was smoking some fucking eucalyptus leaf for all I know. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
my understanding is that it was, I guess, what if I recall, and I could be just 100% wrong, but it was a grape leaf with some herbs packed into it. It's basically an herbal cigarette.
Oh, okay. With the little pink string tied
Yeah, a
on.
little string on it, yeah, to keep
Yeah,
it
to kind of let you know, like, don't smoke past
stop
here.
it. Let it go, son. Let it go.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've done your thing. You've looked as cool as you could look. Just don't be that guy. That's the save you from yourself string.
It's staining your fingertips now. You should stop.
Oh god, I remember passing around the tiniest joint you could buy. You know, like when it's down to just like just you're
Yeah.
holding an ember.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I liked all the neat little things people came up with in like the late 90s and early 2000s, or at least that was at the time for me. But one guy knew how to rock. It was just like a river rock, and he had it like kind of drilled out on one side, so it was like a pipe. But then you would it was made specifically for putting a roach in right at the end. You'd be like, oh, here you go.
He had a device for that.
Yeah, yeah. He had an app for that.
Yeah, well, I remember roach clips and stuff too. Yeah, I remember when I found one in my in my parents' closet. Like, they had a little box of weed paraphernalia, and inside was a roach clip. And I was young, and I could recognize weed, I could recognize a joint, I could recognize a pipe, but I had no clue what a roach clip was.
Right.
So I was just like, "Why is this in here of all things?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. Like, what are you gonna? You pick it up? You just use your fingers. What are you fucking doing? Yeah. Or those roller thingies. I fucking always fuck those up. The joint roller with the two little
Oh
plastic.
yeah, I never got the hang of that.
Yeah, I embarrassed myself a handful of times popping fucking weed out all over my lap.
Oh yeah, when you fuck it up.
Oh
And
my God.
not only did it not roll a joint in any kind of way, but it also ejected it and ruined the fucking zigzags.
Yeah, yeah. Like a back seat full of other people going like, "Hey, asshole, I would like to get high." I'm like, "No, I'm sorry. Fuck.
I swear I know what I'm doing. I do this all the time. Yeah.
I can operate this."
It seems so simple. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if you handed me one of those now, like if I would use it successfully, because I swear to God, to this point in my life, I have not.
Yeah, I don't. I just learned how to do it the old-fashioned way, and then of course I smoked fucking hand-rolled cigarettes too, in yet another effort to not get laid in high school. Like
Just to distance myself a little further from the top of the popularity pile.
it's so frustrating to look at it in retrospect. Like some of the shit I did in high school, which now I was like, yes, I wouldn't fuck you either. I wouldn't fuck you either. I wouldn't fuck you. I got into pipe tobacco for a little bit. I was telling people I was a Black Cavendish man. Bad stuff.
I'm a Black Cavendish. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
You know, you impress me sometimes, sir. Not in a good way, but
Right? I thought the way socially forward was to just ingest whatever, and then
just whatever.
but
yeah.
I also,
Dude.
I'm like my kid too, where I like had this streak of just like I want to be different. I want to be different. I want to do the other thing. I want to stand out. You know. And so
I I don't know if it was a sense of rebellion or boredom, like because I grew up like at a cul-de-sac at the end of a street in the middle of like a small town.
Hmm.
Like there, I had like three kids my age that I could hang out with, and like we didn't, we got up to shenanigans, but it was, again, it might be just like my boring upbringing or whatever, but like throughout my teenage years, it was just like, what do you got? Mushrooms. Great. What do these do? Should I mix them with acid?
Right.
Is this cool to drink at the same time?
Yeah.
I would just take what was given. I would just,
Yeah.
it didn't matter what it was. Like,
Right. A reckless kind of just voraciousness for that, and I felt powerful, like, even after having bad experiences on some of those things,
no, right? You don't
I
learn
would be
either.
like, well, I have to fix that. I
Yeah,
have to
I'll
have
do
a
better
good
next time,
experience on it so that
otherwise it's going
moving
to haunt
forward.
me and stay in my head. So
Right. Oh my gosh, so dumb.
I do remember I was down at Thursday Night Market downtown Santa Rosa
Oh yeah.
back in the day, back when it was cool and people went there, and some friend of ours had picked up acid from somebody. And so we all got together. Someone's like, "Hey, I've got LSD." We're like, "Great!" And for legal reasons, we all did not take it.
Sure.
And I didn't take 2 hits. So
Oh no.
anyway, we were all nice and whacked out of our brains.
Yep.
So an hour or two goes by. We're tripping. We're wandering around. Everything's interesting. And suddenly I have this horrible realization. I have a job and I have to work. And I have to work in like an hour and a half.
Oh,
And I have
Lord.
to get there by bus.
Oh God.
And so I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, guys, I just realized I work today. I worked in like a shitty like barbecue restaurant, like where I was like the waiter, the cashier, the cook, the janitor,
Oh,
like
yeah.
whatever they needed doing. I was like 15 or 16 or something.
You're calling
So-
in sick for days on that one.
Oh, dude, no, and that is what a sober, normal, intelligent person would have done. I did not call in sick, sir. I
Wow.
instead rallied my friends around me and said, "Guys, I need your help. I need you to like get my head straight, get me on a bus, get me to my job, and like." I can't get fired. Like I'll like so much will happen to me. Like I need to do this.
Wow.
And so my friends, being good friends,
Yeah.
okay, like so 4 of them on acid jumped on a bus with me and like talked me down the whole bus ride. Like, you're gonna be fine, play it cool, you don't even look high, man. Like,
Wow.
trying to give me the pep talk that would like get me through the next like 6-hour shift that I had to work, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
so
probably good for all of you, honestly. But
well, it's fun. Again, this is a story of failure because I was, no, I was about 3/4 of the way there on the bus, and I'm sweating bullets. My head is lolling around, like I'm so obviously high. There's just absolutely no disguising it.
yeah.
And so all of a sudden, we shift gears into like, okay, we need a story that explains why you
Right.
can't work.
Now that you can see it down the street. Okay, new plan. Oh God, that's not gonna work.
So we spent 40 minutes talking me up and 7 minutes talking me like, no, don't go to work, and here's why. And so all we could come up with in our hazed brains after like 7 minutes of panicked oh shit is we got to the bus like literally drops off in front of the restaurant. And so me and 3 friends get out, and I think this was Halloween, by the way, so just to make everything weirder.
Sure.
So we get out, and one of the owners is standing out front, and 2 of my friends are literally like holding me up between them. And she comes out, and she's like, "What the hell's going on?" And I start to make an excuse, but all that comes out is like, I can't.
Yeah.
Smooth like. So I think I played it pretty cool. No, but my friend jumped in. She jumped in and saved me. And she said, we were down at the Thursday night market, and someone was passing a drink around. We thought it was just beer or something like that. It was spiked. So someone gave him a spiked drink. Like, he drank something.
Yep.
We don't know what it is. We're going to take him home.
There you go.
And like at the time I was like, genius, right? Genius.
Sure.
But of course, like her reaction is, oh my God, he's been drugged. Let's call the police and take him to the hospital.
Oh, dear Lord, no.
So now we're backpedaling. Like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, he drank something he didn't know, but I think we probably know what it is. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's not make a thing of it, So I'm sure, like, if they're not complete idiots, they eventually picked up on the fact of like, okay, you just need to go.
Yep.
And so
I think the restaurant industry must like get used to that.
Oh yeah, I do remember one of the owners coming in and just blasted out of their mind on pills one time, so I didn't feel too bad.
Nice.
Nice. But so my friends again they took me to work, tried to get me to work, and then tried to get me not to work, and then talked them out of like having me go in there and try to operate humanity, let alone knives and meat and fire.
Yeah.
It probably saved my life that day.
Right.
But they took me to a party where I was by that time I was just so completely lit up that there was a band playing, and I just ran up in the middle of a song and grabbed the microphone and just started ranting at people and just ruined it. I just ruined the party, ruined the song, ruined the set. I just decided everyone needs to hear what I have to say right now.
Oh no! Did you? That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's what I did instead of not working. I was an asshole.
Spewing out
just
whatever
gibberish.
Seemed like genius to you at the time.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? All this is sort of like Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you think about it, none of us are really. Yeah, I was just.
Oh, dear Lord.
I'm sure it was the stupidest rant of my entire fucking life, but.
Yeah.
So I can hold my shit pretty well, I think.
I worked at the Boston Market restaurant chain down in Los Angeles area back when I was like 20.
I'm going to call it. I'm going to tell on you.
I worked there for 2 days. And then on the third day, me and my friend went to a really big park out in the middle of nowhere.
Good.
Yeah, just out in Malibu Canyon State Park. And we got lost in the hills. And we didn't get back to the parking lot until nighttime. And we thought like we were really, really lost. And we thought like we were going to get chased by an animal and all this shit. And so I was just like, well, I'm fucked. And so I just didn't go back after that. And then they called me like 3 days later and they're like, you don't have a job here anymore. I was like, I know.
Wait.
It was so non-committal.
I kind of missed a step here. So wait a minute. You were at work and then what?
I only worked there for 2 days. And the third day, I was supposed to be there at like 4 o'clock because it was a night shift. And I was like, and my buddy was like, let's go hiking at like, 10 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Oh, okay. So third day, you were just like a no-show. I got lost in the woods.
Complete no-show. And then I got embarrassed about it. I was like, I can't talk to them. And so I just ghosted them completely.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah.
It was bad. Yeah. And then they called me.
It feels so terrible.
And they were just like, you don't have a job here. And I was like, yeah.
You know what? I had come to that conclusion.
Right.
I appreciate you confirming it, but
Yeah, they were upset. Like they weren't, it was just like, they didn't like yell at me or anything, but the way they said it, they were just quietly angry that I'd wasted their time and resources, which I would have been too. Like, what an asshole. But I'm an idiot.
We're not angry, Stephen. We're just disappointed.
No, I was just a young idiot back then. I just removed to the area, and so I'd only been back home for like a month, and I did that, and I was like, fuck, that was dumb. So then I went back to my old job at a local supermarket, and then I worked there for like a month, and I was like, I hate you guys. And then I worked for auto insurance specialists. Anyway, this is fascinating.
The story gets better and better.
It does, doesn't it? I'm sorry. I've had a long day.
Yeah,
still have a
that's all
headache
right.
I'm battling. This is a good podcast.
This is good content. We're not going to cut a damn minute. was thinking of like, terrible drug stories, you know, and like, oh God, I remember, again, like I was just, I don't know, brave or stupid or just rebellious. Like, I don't know what was in my mind that made me feel like an invincible god at the age of
Sure.
like 16, 17. That like seems like another human being entirely to me now, because you know, you get older and you get more cautious and careful, and you know that
Yeah.
fire burns, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, I
Well, I
think I
think
was,
there is a sense of you are physically just so much more powerful at that age. You know, it's true. Just scientifically speaking,
yeah, I
like
mean, you have a
you
ton
get
of
hurt.
energy.
Yeah, if you get hurt, you're going to heal in like a week or something. You're fine. You know what I mean? Like cuts and
You're a
everything.
little
Like
drug ridden Wolverine.
yeah, you're just super elastic. Exactly. And so you know, it's yeah. There's some truth to that, but it's like a drug itself, like the sense of
Oh,
powerful invincibility that you get at that age.
well, I remember as soon as my problem was, as soon as I survived something, I would up the ante. And
Right.
so the first time I did mushrooms, I was a hot mess for half of it, and had kind of a good time, but it wasn't great. So the next time I did two weights of mushrooms, like, you know, and like,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
you know,
you should have
what's
gone the other direction.
exactly, yeah,
Like,
half would have been, yeah. And so I constantly corrected the wrong direction. Story of my life. But I did that once. I was with some friends, hanging out again in Santa Rosa downtown, and we all did mushrooms, and I decided I'm pretty hardcore. I'm going to take two of those, two
oh
eighths of
no.
mushrooms for me, good man. Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
And so I got wrecked, and I was like way higher than everyone else. Everyone else was like, "Ooh, colors," and I'm just like, "I can't see police because I'm dying." um,
Yeah.
so at some point, I lost time. I like blinked in and out, but at some point, I ended up at a party, and I remember kind of stumbling around, talking to people, and just like little bits and pieces. And then but most of it I blacked out. I don't remember it.
Sure.
And so the next morning, I woke up in what I can only describe as an adorable, tiny, pink, young female child's bed.
Oh shit. That's
like
not good.
like the bed of an 8-year-old well cared for girl. Like,
That's frightening.
there was no girl around. There was no human around. I was in there by myself, face down on this tiny bed, like with
Wow.
my legs dangling off of it. But I looked
Wow.
around like, did I just wander into a house?
Right.
Like I had no idea what was going on. And so I walked out, and immediately I saw people like passed out all over the floor. And I was like, okay, I'm still at the party. Like, I think, you know,
Yeah.
like, this isn't a horror movie outcome. This is just, I crashed in someone's sister's room or something like that. And that ended up being the case. Like, I found a friend of mine who lived there, and I
Yeah.
said, dude, what was up with that? And he said, yeah, man, you were kind of a mess. And at one point you just said you really, really wanted to sleep. And like, obviously, like, there's no free beds. So like, I put you in my sister's room. And I was like, okay. And so they literally just like brought me in, and like I just face planted downward into the bed and passed out. And that's how I slept, and that's how I woke up, and then I woke up kind of terrified that I'd done some horrific crime.
Yes.
And then I started freaking out because again I realized I had to work that morning. So again, I just completely forgot that I had a job and decided to do way too many drugs
Jesus
for the
Christ.
period before that.
Once
And
again.
this time I worked at Macy's, selling watches and fine jewelry.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so I had to wear a shirt, a tie. I had to look nice, like,
Yeah.
and so I woke up and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm in Santa Rosa. My clothes are in Windsor. My job's in Santa Rosa." So I start freaking out and going around, and people are like, can someone give me a ride? And they're like, talk to this guy. And I talked to this guy, and he said, dude, you freaked out about all of this last night.
Oh shit.
He said, so you told everyone the story. You told everyone what's going on.
No.
You begged us for a ride.
Yeah.
He said, just to get you to calm down, I told you I would take care of it for you.
Oh,
And
shit.
lo and behold, this random hero says, "Come on, let's go," puts me in his car, drives me to Windsor, lets me get dressed, drives me back to my job, and I get in with like 2 minutes to spare.
Wow.
Still coming down off shrooms.
Yeah.
Selling
watches.
Yeah, not only that, but to top off the icing on the cake here, I sold more watches that day than I did any other day that I worked at Macy's.
Nice. You're like
literally the most.
You're like that old professional baseball pitcher that like pitched a no-hitter on acid or whatever. I forget the guy's name, but everybody loves to talk about him. Similar thing. You're just like, who needs a fucking watch? I got a watch for you. I'm selling time.
It was my shoeless Joe Jackson moment here. Yeah,
that's amazing.
My theory is that I was so like when you go to show someone a watch, right? So you're like, oh, here's this nice Swiss watch. But if you're kind of high on shrooms, you're like, look at this fucking thing, man. Wow. Can you even believe it? Look how thin it is. Totally. You can hear it. You can hear it. You can fucking hear it. I'm telling you.
That is amazing.
So that's my
You're
theory.
Just so fascinated by every
so completely enamored by every product we own.
Think of how many tiny little gears are in this.
It's like how many people had to work to make it so you can just go like, oh my God, it's 3, If you don't buy 2 of these, you're an idiot.
You're right, Adam. You're absolutely right. Never really thought of it that way. I don't know why I would ever think of it that way, but you
take my credit card and run it as many times as you need to.
Maybe if we can get this conversation over, I'll buy the watch and I can move on.
The other part might have been people making me like being their exit to a very uncomfortable situation. So yeah, either I was the best salesman ever because I was enamored with the product, or people were like, yeah, great, I'll buy it, bye.
Yeah. Great, no problem, dude, just stop talking.
Yeah, whatever you need, I'll do it if you just calm down.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Yeah. So I was a diligent and successful young man.
Yeah. I showed up to Sears drunk when I worked there.
I was say there's a big difference between showing up to Sears drunk and showing up to Sears drunk and you work there.
Yep. And
but do tell. Yeah.
Again, very young, stupid. I was 21 at the time and worked in their receiving dock. And had just pulled an all-nighter with some buddies and same kind of thing where it was like, 3 a.m. and I was just like reeling and I'm like, oh.
I have responsibility.
So I was like, well, I better go to sleep. So I, went to bed and then an alarm seemed to go off like 5 minutes later. And I was like...
Well, you've not rested at all, even more time.
I am still drunk, like really drunk. And so
I thought the 38-minute nap would do it.
So bad. I walked to work. I showed up late.
Good man.
Yeah, I showed up late, and this guy Mike walked up to me before I could get too far into the warehouse. And he walked up to me. He's like, "Steven, you're drunk." I was like,
"I don't know if you know."
Yeah, and immediately I was like, because I didn't really get shit still back then. I was like, no, I was drunk last night. I just drank a lot last night.
I can't be drunk today. That was yesterday.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. I was like, no, I think I'm just really hungover. And he was like, dude, you fucking reek. Like, you smell like fucking vodka.
Yeah, you were not hungover. You were still going.
Yeah, and I was like, I haven't drank anything. He's like, when did you stop? I was like, well,
I don't know, 2 hours ago.
I was like, well, I went to bed at 3, and I don't know, right before I went to bed. Fuck.
I took an Irish car bomb about 75 minutes ago, and
yeah, but he was so nice. He was like, go home. I'll tell them you called in sick. Was this a
manager or just a coworker? Or?
This was a coworker, a random coworker from another department that I barely ever had any contact with. I think he was just a sympathetic dude. I think he was somebody who must have been down the same kind of stupid path before, and he happened to catch me before I could get in any trouble or anything, and he was just like, "Go home. I'll say you came in and you were like coughing and stuff," and I just said, "Go
Yeah,
home."
yeah.
And I was
He
sick.
was so sick. I sent him home. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's great.
I know he was a saint.
What a great dude.
I know he was a total saint. I mean, honestly, maybe in retrospect, maybe I should have gotten busted because then I could have learned a
Yeah.
lesson and maybe like developed a little bit more my life and
Nah.
my personality and shit. But like, no, instead I was like, thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
Just walked
it's
home and grabbed like a six pack on the way home and was just
it's
like,
the kind of
okay.
thing through the lens of below 30 that is the coolest guy in the world, and through the lens of above 30, you're like, what an irresponsible young man.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like he wasn't doing you any favors. Like,
right.
yeah, I could see it both ways, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, who's he to like,
Oh,
correct
I
my
know it's not
behavior
his
too?
business,
So
right?
yeah, so it
Like
was cool.
the
I mean,
smart
in the end of
idea
the
for the
day, it was cool.
customers was to get you the hell out.
That's right. Exactly. I would have fucking fell off the loading dock or something.
Yeah, probably saving himself and his boss and everyone else a lot of headache.
And Eureka Sears. What a great Sears.
Where dreams happen.
Our dreams happen. Eureka Sears. 1998. Oh my God.
That's when shit got real.
It was so cold. Like I would work there nights, and like the parking lot where the loading dock was, where people would come to like get their fridges loaded up and shit, uh, was on like there was a parking lot, and then there was the water, like because Eureka is like a port town, like there's just like a wharf like right there, and we used to get fucking wharf rats. They were amazing.
Jesus.
Yeah, I used to go out by the loading dock. There was a picnic table, and I'd sit there smoking on my smoke break, and I remember seeing what I thought was a possum go across the parking lot. And my buddy Nate was like, "That's a wharf rat." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah,
Hey, look at that lion. That's a warfare.
yeah." I couldn't believe it. He was
Hey,
like,
look,
"That's how big they get."
look, a Doberman. No, that is a warfare.
Exactly. It was amazing.
That's scary.
It was. It was like the size of a small dog, but it had like
Uh,
the big rat ass bumping back and forth, and it was
yeah,
just all. But it was fucking like huge, huge, huge.
yeah. Like to the level of if you kick it, it might not go anywhere.
Yeah, like would you kick a raccoon? I'm not gonna kick a fucking
Yeah,
raccoon. I wouldn't kick this wharf rat either. That little motherfucker, no way. God,
yeah.
that was such a weird fucking time.
That was
Ugh.
weird. Oh, you know what? I do have curious though. So when I was in high school and around that time,
Mhm.
everyone talked about Eureka as in hushed tones as just like the weed epicenter of the entire planet. Obviously, this is before things were just legal.
Right.
And so I had never spent any time. I've been to Eureka like 2 or 3 times for like something or another for an hour. Like so, I've known nothing about Eureka,
Mhm.
but I just remember everyone talking about it. Like, oh, that's where you get all the weed. That's where you get the best weed. That's where you get the most weed. Like it was like the weed mecca. Like, is that your experience, or is it just like any other place?
That wasn't my experience per se. Eureka, Arcata, McKinleyville, all the towns up there, up and down the 101, very
Yeah,
similar to like Sonoma County. Um, as long as you
like a
knew,
dozen Cloverdales.
as long as you knew anybody, like you could get really amazing weed, like no problem. Like it seemed like everybody knew a grower. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it was really, really, really easy. Or like everybody like either knew a grower or was growing. Like weed was always the easiest goddamn thing to find up there.
Well, that's kind of what that was my question. Is it
Yeah.
was it plentiful and was it great and was it
Yeah.
easy to get?
Yeah. For the most part, all you'd have to do is approach, somebody who kind of looked like a hippie or kind of long hair or whatever. And, it was kind of like the 90s up there was kind of like the 60s again in a way. It was just like, yeah, as long as you approach somebody who looks like they would do those things
Yeah.
that you like to do, their odds are they'll either have it or they'll be like, yes, let's go. I know this person. And then like, a walk
Yeah.
away or like, let's just hop in the car and yep, we go to his apartment and it's just no problem.
Just find a guy who has a beard clearly because he hasn't shaved and not because he wants to have a beard, or a guy wearing a poncho.
Right.
One
Yeah.
of those two people, and you're golden, right? Like,
Although Arcata being more the where where the school was, Humboldt State University. That is definitely was more like the hippie left wing kind of central. Eureka, for the most part, most of the people of Eureka were um, white, just working class, um, and a lot of meth. The thing that Eureka
I
was,
did hear about that at some point as well. Yeah,
yeah, that was the predominant story and reputation that Eureka had at the time that I lived there and when I
they
lived in
put it on the
Arcata.
billboard, famous for.
Well, and I you did see your fair share of people who had the gaunt, bony
Yeah,
face, tight
there.
looking shit going on, and for the most part, they were white people. They were like very, very white people, like because there's a lot of the logging industry up there has been there for generations, and so there's a lot of built-in families that are just logging families,
Yeah.
and
And
so of
white
course.
people are terrible.
Well, it's just that's that at the time. I don't know what the diversity is up there now, but in the
It's probably not a lot
90s,
better.
it was predominantly white people, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's coming from a person who grew up in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley, where it was just like everybody melting
Every
pot.
mix. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was the experiment as it is intended, and so I could tell, like, I could just sense it when I was there. I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't seen a black person in like a few days. Like I barely ever see any Mexicans or like, I occasionally see some Asian or Indian people, but like, holy shit, it's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
just
just a
mostly
very
white
white
people up
town. Yeah.
here. Yeah.
I,
And a lot of people on meth and a lot of people, like very right wing ish, like what you would call right wing now. Back then we didn't really say right wing. We were just more like, I don't know. We were just like, because we were more like, or at least me and my friends thought we were more hippie-ish kind of people. And so, we didn't really get along. But that was the weird thing about moving up there from Southern California too. Is like,
yeah,
like in
that's quite
retrospect,
a jump.
and in retrospect, I probably look like an asshole to a lot of those types of people who had lived there for generations and were logging families and stuff like that. They're like, oh, here's this San Fernando Valley SoCal kid that comes up to go to Humboldt State University and likes to think he knows everything about everything.
With his diversity and his without his meth addiction. Ugh.
Right. Yeah. Well, right. But at the time, like I'm sure to this day still, I mean, Humboldt State University and like the people that attend there for the most part are incredibly like very optimistic, left wing, like ecologically minded, like whatever, like people that are pursuing good life type things that I really respect and all that. But you feel this sense of like you assholes from the greater built-in community that you can feel has been there for just generations, that is more like the built-in little towns that creep back into the woods off the 101.
For me, there's a triad of PCP, crack, and meth. If you are dealing with anyone who's actively on one of those things, it is terrifying. I want to do anything to get out of this situation and away from you.
Right. Well, I remember in retail, I used to have to deal with people on meth all the time, and it's distracting and it's annoying, and you want to finish up the transaction as fast as possible. You're just like, oh god, like, please stop talking. Like, why are you asking me so many fucking weird questions and like forcefully laughing and like shaking?
Don't you think? Don't you agree with me? Don't you agree with me?
Yeah.
Come on, there's aliens, right? There's aliens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just like weird fucking shit where I'm just like, this is fireside chat shit at a campground, not 3 PM. You're buying a fucking 6-pack. Like, go away. What the fuck? Like,
why are you so concerned what I think about aliens?
Yeah, exactly. It was the 90s, so yeah, there was a lot of talk about aliens. That's true. Y2K, bro. Do you ever think about Y2K? Like, do you even fucking know about it? It was like, oh, fuck.
I remember I worked for the military when Y2K came. Yeah,
you're a military contractor.
Yeah, I was. I worked as a subcontractor for the Department of Defense. Actually, so directly for the DoD.
Polishing guns.
Yeah, you know what? Brag. I've been to the Pentagon. I was not allowed to touch or go pretty much anywhere. But anyway,
Sure. Yeah.
but no, I worked for the DoD and I helped build some of their website stuff. When I was literally my first job out of school. It was like right into like the deepest end of the pool where like you have to follow like military protocol and every safety standard and all this
Are you
stuff.
going to get imprisoned for talking about this?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
Sure. Cool. All right.
yeah.
Well, I'm happy to say that I was the guy that was there.
Yeah. You guys will see the door kick in here in a minute, and I'll just. And then someone who looks kind of like me will jump back on camera and be like, "I am tired. I'm going to bed. I may take a lot of pills. Good night."
Disregard all previous statements and broadcast.
No, but I worked for them, and I was helping to do this project they were working on, and man, I didn't know what I was doing, and I went to military bases all the time. I lived they moved me to Jacksonville, Florida,
Sure. Wow.
and it was because there's a large base there, and so a big military presence, and so we were stationed like
Jacksonville.
there.
That's awesome.
Jacksonville.
Just like in The Good Place. Yeah, I don't know if you watched that show.
I've seen a little bit of it, yeah. But
Yeah, the one guy from Jacksonville Jaguars.
yeah, it was the first year the Jacksonville Jaguars existed. So
Nice.
It was everyone was so hyped about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Funny story, side note, when I lived there, I came there from California, and I was living in California paying like $900 rent for like a 2-bedroom piece of crap apartment, with a friend. And I'm sure that same apartment now would probably be like $2,000, but at the time it was $900, and we split it. It was $450 each, and it was a crap hole. It was just a shitty apartment.
Yep.
When I moved to Florida, I realized I could get my own pretty decent, nice 2-bedroom apartment for $500.
Jesus.
And so my friend talked me into going to this place. He's like, "Dude, I found this place. It's epic." So we go there. It's beautiful. It's like there's gates and security and manicured lawns, fountains, multiple pools, tennis courts.
Yeah.
I go inside the apartment. It's beautiful. Vaulted ceilings, a fireplace, washer and dryer in the unit. I'm like, holy crap, man. And so the whole time they're kind of apologizing in advance about the price. And then, so we're kind of building up to like, okay, what does it cost to live here? They hit me with, okay, so it's kind of because, it has a washer and dryer inside, and it's kind of because you're right next to the pool, and, it's one of the prime spots. So, the rent is $850. I just was like, just in shock. I was just trying not to laugh. So
You should have paused, huh?
No, I wish it'd been cool enough to be like, ooh,
Ooh. Exactly. Wow.
Ooh, that stings. You can't
I
do
like
better
this
than
place too.
Yeah,
I do like
yeah.
it, but
that hurts. No, I wasn't that cool. I just literally, hold my face and my teeth together so hard to just not laugh in this poor woman's face.
Yeah.
And of course, it was a 2-bedroom. I was splitting with someone else, so it was half that for the rent.
Jesus.
So I was paying less rent than I was in California for this gorgeous apartment in a beautiful spot. That, to wrap this up, is where 3 or 4 of the Jacksonville Jaguars lived.
Oh, nice.
So several of the team members lived in the same complex.
Nice. Big fucking guys.
Yeah, every now I actually run into them now and again, like in the hot tub of the pool or something like that, and you could tell, by the fact that they're 6'8" and hugely muscled.
Yeah. Just like otherworldly creatures, you're like, oh, hey, wow, you fit inside this. That's cool. Hey,
So,
wow.
one guy filling an entire hot tub and curling 2 beautiful women.
That's awesome. My wife is a massage therapist, and sometimes where she works is like kind of a vacation-y destination, and so sometimes celebrities will come, and then sometimes professional athletes, and she's had to massage a few professional football players, and she says it is exhausting
Yeah,
because
I bet, right?
you just the amount of muscle mass that you have to just get
All the
down and
pressure you can muster.
into. Oh my gosh, she's just like, I am just like my whole body like, come on, like try, and he's just like, yeah, that's not bad. You know?
Yeah, I would kill a normal person.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly. Somebody else would be like, you just broke my shoulder blade. What the
my
fuck?
sternum's gone. What's going on?
Yeah, like I said, deep pressure, but come on.
I do run into that problem. Just I'm a big guy, and so often when I get a massage, I usually like get these people where I'm like, you can go a little harder than that. Now you
Yep,
can go a little bit harder. Yeah, I don't know if you can go harder.
yep,
you know,
totally.
no? Okay, then what you're doing is fine.
I think you have to have somebody massage you of a certain strength level. My
Oh yeah,
wife's
well it's always like
very strong,
it's
so.
always like a 90 pound Asian lady who like
Right.
yeah,
Right.
but
That's the thing. Like I went to a chiropractor actually, and she was a, kind of smaller, dainty kind of woman or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And, did some okay adjustments and stuff like that. Um, but like had me on this thing, I think it was called like a gravity table or something, where it just, you lay on the table and it goes like, it's raised like an inch and then it just drops down.
oh yeah, that's a chiropractor tool. Yeah,
Chiropractor. Did I say she was a chiropractor? I
yeah.
hope I did. Yes. Okay.
Oh,
So
I thought you meant a masseuse. Anyway, but yeah, yeah, I know the table you mean. Yeah, they just drops parts of you all of a sudden.
right, and instead of like the other stuff I was used to with other chiropractors, where they would actually just be strong enough to get in there and do that themselves.
No, they just like gravity and danger do the work.
Yeah, and it wasn't even, it was like an inch. So it was really weird. Like it was like being on a table with like a leaf that like suddenly falls into place or something. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. And I remember she would say, like, she'd give me a warning. She's like, okay, it's gonna drop. Ready? In 3, 2. Like as if it's gonna be like, oh, it's so upsetting to me. And I would always walk away going like, I don't feel like much happened. Like it has to, both chiropractors and massage therapists, they have to be of a certain strength. That's my point. God damn it.
And we've been funny the whole time. Like, God, I love everything you say, Steven. It's great. Um, no, I
When
did
is the
enjoy your story.
when is the drug monster coming? He said he would come soon.
I don't think it's coming. I think we are the drug monster, and that's the lesson we learned from today.
Damn it, Matlock. Matlock, you say you're going to be the drug monster. Coming at the end.
Oh, but I did want to finish this off with another terribly embarrassing story, which I have a plethora of.
Oh God, me too.
A friend of mine told me once about this house of massage.
Oh dear Lord, God, none of this should be shared to anything.
I know. Well, there we go. Anyway, so
are we live streaming on Facebook?
We're
or
not
something?
live streaming, no, but
Good.
I'm not editing this out either.
Okay.
You're a willing participant, and you're actively approving of this by being in the
I want to
show.
hear about these houses of ill repute.
Well, anyway, so we went to a house of ish repute, and so that's what he said. He told me that's what this place like. Oh yeah, they do that kind of thing, And
Sure.
I was like, and I said, well, like, how does it work? I was genuinely curious, a little mortified, but kind of curious, and I was like, so how does it work? And they said, well, they give you a massage, and if you want to like give them another $20 or something at the end, they like massage a different area. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, interesting. And so my buddy's just so hyped on doing this. And so we went in and I decided, you know what? They do massage here. So I'm literally just going to get a massage.
There you go.
I'm not going to do the finale,
Yeah.
and I'll let him do whatever he does.
Yeah. You're going to
So
say no to drugs.
Yeah, so we go in and we say, yeah, we're both here for a massage. Here we go, blah, blah, blah. We both, this 30 minutes, 90 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so they split us up and they send us into these rooms. And the lady comes into the room who's like, oh, God, she had to be approaching 70 years old.
Sure.
And believe it or not,
Yes.
proceeded to give me like the best massage I've ever had in my life.
Nice.
Like, just did an amazing job.
Nice.
Like, yeah, and I had this great massage. And then I'm kind of like, okay, well, you know, this is surprisingly good. You know, like it all worked out. And then she kind of goes, do you, you know, do you
Yeah.
kind of hinting, like, do you want a half year?
Yeah.
And I'm like, from a 70-year-old woman? Like, no. You know,
Yes. Yes, of course I do. Yes, proceed.
I know,
I
no.
don't see this opportunity popping up any other time soon. Please, proceed.
Oh, I was instantly like, oh, no. Oh, no, I'm a eunuch. Like a Ken doll down there. It's, whoo. When I pee, it looks like a garden sprinkler.
The classic, I am a eunuch defense.
It works so many times.
No, I'm a eunuch. You know, an ancient guard of a
and that's
princess.
why I'm shoplifting from Target.
That's why I'm here getting a massage from you today. I'm going to return to court after this to protect the princess.
So I shoot her down. I was like, okay, no, I'm good. So thank you so much. No, I'm good. Thank you. And like, I tipped her and I leave. And my buddy comes out a few minutes later, and out comes this gorgeous 19-year-old, skinny, beautiful Asian girl. You know, and I'm like, what the hell? So we get outside and I want to compare notes here, and I'm like, what's going on? And so I told him, I said, dude, I had this 70-year-old woman, like, you know, she was nice, but like, I didn't want to. I didn't want that from her. And he's like, dude, that's not who gives you the happy ending. They send in the hot chick.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was like, okay, God. Because, like, yeah, the whole time I was wondering, like, is he getting a happy ending from a 70-year-old woman? Like,
it's more like a secret menu option or something.
Yeah,
Weird.
you know.
Weird and gross.
Yeah, they just have a little Harajuku girl with strong wrists in the back room who just pops out when needed.
What's Harajuku?
It's just a style of Japanese, like, poppy pigtails and over the top.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I made a lot of fucking big, stupid mistakes. I can't remember half of them. But, you know, I definitely fell asleep on a beach one time, drunk in the day.
And you're so pale that I'm sure that resulted in what can only be described as a medical emergency.
Pretty much, exactly. You know, I hitchhiked there. And
oh, wow. So
yeah.
you didn't have like a reliable way to escape.
I made some really weird decisions. I you know, I had some weird, I don't know if you want to call it depression or whatever it is, but, you know, in my early 20s when I lived up there in Humboldt County, I had some weird days. And, I bought a 6-pack of beer and threw it in a backpack and
and went rogue.
Went rogue and hitchhiked up the coast, went to a beach, and, you know, just was like, all right. It was a beautiful day. Oh my God, it's just gorgeous and just sand. It's this beach called Clam Beach up there. It's just sand for miles. It's just big plain beach. Oh my God, it's amazing. And so I just, you know, about 4 beers in, I think I just, and then
seems like a good time for a nice warm nap.
So dumb.
Everyone's fallen asleep on the beach and gotten a horrible sunburn, I think, at some point. But it really depends on how pale you are in the first place.
That was the rough part. I'm a pretty pale guy. And, so, you know, when I woke up, I was like, oh God, like I can feel this right away. So I put on a shirt and stuff, but I was still just like, oh, like I'm freezing. You know, I drank the rest of the beer and it didn't really help much. And then by the time I was hitchhiking home, it was dark. But I managed to hitchhike home. This random girl picked me up, older girl. And
how about a back rub?
Yeah. And she just looked like she felt bad for me, but she was like, are you okay? I'm like, and she was like, you look, you're just, your whole face is just glowing red. And I'm like, yeah, it's a really bad sunburn. And she's like, yes, it's a really bad sunburn.
It's bad or you're from hell.
And so, I fucking passed out that night. And then the next day, immediately went to like the local health center and they gave me steroids to,
Oh wow.
yeah, they were like, well, we want to keep your body from going into shock at this point. So here's some steroids for that.
Jesus.
Because you have like, they call it like a third-degree sunburn or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just my face and my whole...
It's fourth if you're Irish.
Yeah. I had a giant blister. My whole stomach was one big blister.
But speaking of horrible,
it's the drug monster.
We got the drug monsters here. Matlock Zumsteg to help us close out the show.
Am I early? I'm early, right?
Oh yeah, buddy. So we've been spending the last hour talking about embarrassing drug stories, about how embarrassing drug stories have affected our jobs,
alcohol stories,
and alcohol, and so I actually we're at the end, and I do have to go, but I do need one long embarrassing drug story from you, if you could.
Well, unfortunately, I've never had an embarrassing drug story. I've had a lot of drugs. I've done a ton of drugs, but never done anything uncouth or embarrassed myself.
But every time I've kept my cool.
Never affects my work.
I've stayed level. I've stayed stable.
Never affected my work. I'm always passed every drug screening, no matter how many drugs I'm on. And
don't know how, don't know why, don't care.
Yeah, honestly, I work better on drugs, and my bosses have claimed such, and have insisted that I be as high as possible before I show up, because really, the amount of energy I bring to the job, when I'm on crank.
Sure.
It inspires the rest of the workforce. They see
they have
that,
to step
they look
it up
to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not allowed to sell to them anymore. My boss would prefer that the company think that it's all just, manpower, just sheer willpower that's bringing this force of energy to my job.
Yeah. But it is, in fact, methamphetamine.
Yeah. A few of them found that out, and they had to get fired. But to everyone else, I'm a Superman.
That's all right, though, because I did their jobs, too.
Yeah.
And my managers.
Crank makes you superhuman, children.
Yeah. You can work forever and faster than you ever thought possible.
A couple of negative Nancy's complained that I was wearing the same clothes for 3 days.
3 months.
And I'm like, what do you expect? I haven't gone home or slept.
This is my work uniform.
Yeah. It's obviously just my work uniform. Okay. Are you anti-productivity?
You're wearing a sombrero and a plastic trash bag.
Right. Safety helmet. Toxic shield.
Toxic shield.
It holds toxins in by wouldn't it keep them out.
This is my OSHA regulated toxic shield.
Sure, I got it. So rather than put you on the spot and just make you relive every horrible thing you've done, I remember you've spent a lot of years
on drugs,
delivering pizza, and smoking a lot of weed. And
that's true.
When those two collide, what are some of the more interesting things that have happened?
Well, what's funny is they go hand in hand. Like, I never smoked weed until I started delivery driving, and then it's just sort of like, why am I behind all the other delivery drivers? And then you found out the secret: they're all stoned. That's not true, but this is true.
I wanted to believe, but I couldn't.
For all the children at home.
This is listen to this episode with your kids in the room. So what I discovered was, some of the drivers were just like getting stoned. Like one dude was just taking naps in his car after deliveries for half an hour, then coming back, picking up a delivery and heading out, drop it off.
Beautiful. God, I've never had the balls to slack that hard.
Oh, you do it all the time, I'm sure. Yeah, you don't go into your work, so it's like they don't know if you're sleeping half the time. You're worse than I am. No,
no, but I mean, when there's a chance of getting caught, like I would, like.
But you're in your own car. You're like, if anything, they're like, "Oh, you're back late," and you're like, "Yeah, I got lost." And it's like, how are they supposed to check on you? Yeah.
I hit another alligator. I don't know what to tell you.
Guy wouldn't come to the door, so I had to go around back.
It's so funny.
There's a
Before
dog in the
everybody
yard.
had like GPS to rely on,
Yeah,
you
it
could
was,
just
yeah.
say such fucking bullshit. I
Yeah.
know. I'm just
Yeah.
an idiot.
I turned left and I was at the top of a mountain. I
And
had to
so
fight a bear.
that's the last part of my story is there was no GPS at the time, so we all had this giant map at
Oh,
the pizza
God.
restaurant, and you had to, before you left, like write down, okay, take a left on Armory, take a right on Range, okay, and like sort of give
Nice.
yourself directions.
Yeah.
This was back in the day of Map Finder. What was it? MapQuest? MapQuest, yeah.
MapQuest.
people use
Yeah, you
MapQuest,
could
yeah.
print it out.
Yeah. So what I would do is I'd
Traffic
write down
bomb.
I'd write down the address. I'd get in my car. I'd drive a little bit away. I'd get really stoned. And then what I noticed after a while was that it was like time travel because I would just be pulling out of the restaurant and then suddenly I'd be pulling up to the house.
You just teleport from point A to point B.
Like, because I would be like, oh, I'm here. And I'm like, was I even looking at the directions? Did I even know how?
Yeah. Am I a god?
It was like magic. And I was like, wow, if every day could go this great. It's like you don't even notice the traffic. It's like, all right, bam, and I'm money in hand. All right, whoa, I'm back at work. Oh, let's
Did
see.
did that ever go the other direction though? Did you ever get really
Never.
high, jump in the car, and be like, all of a sudden I'm in the drive-thru at Wendy's?
You know what happened? A couple times was that I would set down my pizza bag on the trunk of the car. To set stuff or get stuff in and out of the car before I left. And I did leave empty the pizza bag on the trunk of the car twice, and it fell off. And I went, oh, shit, I'm an idiot. I'm stoned. And then I would throw it back in. I don't think it ever fell off the car with pizzas in the bag. But
Well, truly, you've shown us all up with the lowest low that a drug use and jobs can do to
it's
a
the
man.
dream, kids.
Most
Be like me.
drugs and jobs.
I like how Steven and I both talked about like horrible, dangerous shit, and Mallock's like, it makes me better. You can drive better. You can navigate better. Your mind works sharper. You teleport places. You're never bored. It's great.
One of my favorite videos I got shown in a DMV, or what was it, the driving class that you take before you take your driver's permit.
Yeah.
They showed this VHS tape from like the 70s of these people on an airstrip, and there were cones all over the airstrip and cars, and they were like, we're going to let these people drive sober between the cones, and then we're going to let them drink and drive between the cones and see like.
Remember
I
that
think I've
video.
seen that. Yeah.
And they interview them all before, and they're like, so do you think drinking affects your driving? And like almost every one of these people is like, oh no, I drive better when I'm drunk. Like I drive so much better. Yeah,
I'm drunk
no,
right
fine.
now.
It never affects me. And then obviously you watch the cars just swerving between the cones after they've drunk, and it's like boom, 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 boom.
And everybody's laughing.
killed
their
14
asses
children.
off. The whole time they're just like, "Oh my god, look what I did! Oh,
I'm a
holy
great
shit!"
driver.
I'm doing better than I normally would. Thunk, thunk, thunk.
That's amazing, though. The prevailing attitude in that era
At that
was
time,
just
yeah.
like,
Well,
you know,
it's not
well,
even
at the
in that
time too.
era.
A lot
I
of
mean,
people, if
more
you got
fun
pulled
than
over, if you got pulled over, well, I don't know. I guess it depended upon circumstances, but a lot of time I've heard they would just be like, "Oh, well, you're right down the street. Just get down, get
Oh
home."
yeah.
Just
No.
get
No.
home.
My dad and my
Go
uncle
ahead.
told me about that. They said that in the 60s, like and 70s, when they were driving around, I mean, like they would get wasted and drive around, and literally that's all they were doing was just driving. And they'd get really drunk and they would drive around. And they said if a cop saw you swerving all over the road, jumping the curb, they'd pull you over. And they'd be like, "Hey, what's going on?" And you're like, "Sorry, I had too much to drink." And they'd be like, "Well, go home. Like, get out of here."
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that was it. Like, stop driving around and drive home.
Drive past the two schools on the way home.
Yeah, and that was it. It was literally like, well, it was like a finger wag. It was like, well,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be out just cruising around.
Next time you try this, you mind trying it
Head
after
for
7
head for
o'clock?
home.
Try
Yeah,
after
for
7
home.
p.m. if you're going to do this kind of shit.
Yeah,
okay?
go home.
'Cause,
That was it. Go home. Yeah, you don't need to be out here doing this. Go home.
If you
Because if
want
you
to
start
drive
heading
drunk,
home, you'll stop driving drunk.
kids go to bed at 8. So after 8, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You drive all around, all over the town. Anybody who gets hit probably deserves it.
This is so educational for so many people. So glad you're here, Matlock.
Can we do like a side podcast or like a video, like a YouTube channel where
like
we
an
just
everything wrong version?
give bad advice and just explain all the reasons that it's like smarter and better to drive drunk or to do drugs?
I don't think you realize we've been making that for about a couple months now.
Oh yeah, but I mean serious, like really, like mean it, you know.
Yeah.
I told you guys about drunk driver number 1, right?
I don't think so.
No, go ahead. I
You
got
told me about 2, 3, and 4, but not number.
It was when I was a little kid.
Wow.
We had a big station wagon, and my dad would take us to Shakey's Pizza, and we'd all have pizza, and he'd get plowed on just pitchers of beer.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
My butt hurts. I've got to go.
And so, he was amazing. He could like drive the car home straight on the main street, no problem. And then
I was so proud of him.
I know it's not. There's mixed feelings for sure.
Man was an expert.
He had this game where as soon as he pulled onto our street, which was like a side residential street with like zero traffic, pretty much. So if somebody was coming, whatever. But anyway, pulled down our street, he'd go, "Okay, drunk driver number 1, drunk driver number 1."
Turned into a little game for the kids.
He swerved from curb to curb, like the
Oh my
whole
God.
fucking street. Me and my sister would be in the back of the station wagon. It didn't have any seats or anything. It was just a floor. So we would be like rolling around. Like, it was fun. Like, we had fun. All the kids were laughing.
It was
All
great.
Loved it.
No one wore seatbelts, and some of us died, and we loved it.
That's the weirdest part. Everybody was just like, this is the funnest. Like, we would ask, play drunk driver number 1. Like, when we get to the
Do it again, Dad.
Yeah.
And I promised myself on that day I would not let my child go a day without playing drunk driver with me in the car.
And I've stayed pretty true to it.
He's the happiest kid.
Yeah.
Was the happiest.
Yeah, he was so happy until we had to unplug
We
him.
left
But
the windows down one day, and he just didn't have a seatbelt on.
that actually did happen to me once. My dad put me in the truck and got on the other side of the truck, and I didn't realize the door didn't latch, and I was no seatbelt because it was an old truck. So he literally just got in, took a tight turn around the cul-de-sac, and I just flew out the door onto the asphalt, and he didn't notice for like a few seconds. And then he looks over after he's like just turning onto the road, and the door's open, and I'm not in the car.
Jesus.
So then he turns around and he comes back and he
runs me over.
No, he's pissed at me because he thought I opened the car door and jumped out.
I jumped out. You threw me out of the car. No, I didn't.
Like, why the fuck would you do that?
I was like, what?
Crazy.
Yeah, it's like someone hitting you and being like, why did you do that to yourself?
Why'd you make me hit you?
Yeah, exactly. It was like, it was dark.
Let's all laugh about dark stories from childhood that you shouldn't laugh about.
Yeah.
Shall we?
My parents are great. Nothing ever went wrong. Anyway, this has been the Podcast Records telling you that drugs are good or bad. It really depends.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
what are your circumstances?
Yeah.
Thank you, Matlock Thumbsteak, for jumping in late and being
You're
our
welcome. Saving
finale.
the show. Yeah.
I know. Brought us out of hell. We'll see how the editing goes on this one. Well, everyone, you can check us out at podcastrecords.com. You can look on Facebook and type in that same thing and find us, or you can't find us. That's the other option.
You could just not look.
Remember, everything we said today was a lie. All falsity, falsehoods.
For legal reasons, all of this is comedy and parody. Good
I
day.
never mean
Pure
anything I say.
imaginary buffoonery and poppycock.
Yep. We're all Mormons. Good day.